Well, here we are in the car driving down at Cronulla, and I've got Christian right with me here. And Christian has recently got back from India, a really interesting trip that he took, and he's kindly accepted the invitation to tell us a little bit about what he discovered on that trip. So, how did you end up going on the trip anyway?
I was actually just sitting in my garden in the sun one morning, and I was reading the sheep and the goats in Matthew, and then there was a northerly blowing, and in that north wind I heard God say, I want you to go to India, and I want you to look for me in the gutter. And I was like, alright, so I just packed up everything I had. Everything came together like that, and within a month I was there. I was over in India for 6 weeks with no plan.
Full on, did you do that by yourself?
Yeah, I was going by myself originally, and then at the last minute someone suggested I travel with this other guy, an architect in Sydney, and he was already over there, so I just arranged to meet up with him and we travelled together for 6 weeks.
So, was it a success? Did you find the Lord over there?
I think I did. Not at first. It was very hard. We set up rules for ourselves. We said, whenever we come across the poor, always make skin contact. Always, touch them and say hello and be welcoming to them. Try and shy away from giving money all the time, and try and focus more on, like when we met people, we asked if we could go home with them and meet their families, and so we got to see a lot of local India, which was really exciting.
Oh. Yeah. Found a park.
Got one.
We prayed for one and we got one. That's very cool.
Yeah, look at that.
Alright. Okay, so what were you just saying?
Yeah, so we had a really good start where we actually did. Whenever we were stopped at traffic lights or wherever we saw people in the gutter, or we even visited some slums. We went to Calcutta. We always looked for the dodgy parts of town, or we got invited back to the slums, and we'd always, we try and touch people and just, I don't know, just try and love them in whatever way we knew. But we got desensitized really quickly.
Yeah.
To the point where we were standing about 2 in the morning one night in the street. I think we're waiting for a bus, and my friend who I went with said to me, you know what, I don't even realise when they're in the gutter anymore. There's an old woman in the gutter and we don't even notice. We're that desensitized. And I said, what old woman? Where is she? And he said, right there, right in front of us.
Wow.
This old woman in the gutter. And, to our shame, I haven't even noticed. I was just completely oblivious to it. And we just said to each other, that's Jesus. What are we going to do? And so we went out straight away and we bought shoes for her, and we bought some food. We came back thinking, we're all good. And then she refused them. She said, I don't want your food, I don't want your shoes. And instantly we felt real white, and we felt, real ashamed that we just thought of the typical white thing to do, just splash money on her. And so, I guess I was kind of really confused after that, and I didn't know how to approach Jesus in the gutter. And then we ended up staying in Varanasi, which is a really spiritual place in India. We stayed in an ashram, which is a Hindu temple. And this ashram was a Jesus ashram owned by some Australian missionaries who were over there ministering to the tourists and the Indian people there. And under them, I studied their approach, which was not just to splash money out or gifts, but what they did, they would, on cold nights, they just bring a warm meal to some of the women sitting, by the well or by the river in the gullies.
Yep.
Or they'd bring blankets on a different night. And eventually the kids stopped harassing them, because the kids were children of these old women, and they knew, to respect these people because they actually meant more than just money. And because they were giving the blankets and the food, people would open up and they would respond to them, and they were building relationships with them. And so I thought, that's probably a better approach. And then I started thinking, well, what is it to be generous? Like, to be generous, you give spontaneously, you take out some money and you give someone some help, you give them some money. And then I thought, well, if you do that every day, then you're no longer generous, that becomes routine. To be truly generous, it's exponential, you have to keep giving. And I thought, well, how am I going to do that? But studying under these missionaries in the ashram, what I really learnt was, I think to be truly generous in a missional context, you have to give of yourself. You have to, you might even have to move somewhere to invest relationship in someone's life, and ultimately the relationship of Jesus Christ, because that you're giving, and you're giving all the time, and in relationship you're taking as well. And I think that's a much more dynamic generosity to be found on the mission field. And so I think in the end that's what I learned, was not to splash money on people, although it can be helpful, but to be a truly generous person to Jesus in the gutter is just to be friends with him. It's just to show that Jesus no longer calls them slaves but friends himself, and he wants that friendship with them. And I guess that's the beginning of what I learned, really.
Wow, that's full on. It's what Scripture says, isn't it? That in as much as you've done this to the least of them, you've done it to me. So I guess that's the essence of what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Finding what Jesus would be doing if he was here. So good on you, mate. God bless. And while we're watching this, Christian is a nurse and he'll be doing his job, serving the community.
Saving lives, hopefully.
Good stuff, mate.